All right, so welcome back, everyone. Today we are going to be doing this sketch of Betty Boop, but not this sketch. This is a really old sketch which I had done back in 2014. As you can see, I didn't know what the heck I was doing. There's absolutely no consideration in terms of form and anatomy. I was just basically drawing lines. Like you can see her hip is totally gimped here, and there's literally no consideration of form whatsoever. I know the original Betty Boop is like just a simple line drawn cartoon, but at the same time, there's a lot of thought that goes into that form and how it fits. So what I did, I already actually did the sketch work for this one. Unfortunately, I already redid the drawing, so we're not gonna get to see that in this shot, but I got this was my reference photo, and I felt it went with Betty Boop's personality pretty well. And from there, I drew the line art. So this is the line art that we're going to be starting with, and I'm just going to be coloring this in, and we're going to cut right now and go to the speed time lapse for this. So let's get right into it, shall we? Okay, so I'm just starting out right here by changing the proportions of the background. Originally, it was a portrait-oriented picture, but I just changed that to a square. For the background, we just had some vector shapes, so that's not going to be too much of an issue. And I had already pre-colored this. Actually, I really regret not saving any video footage of that, but because of that, I am just basically touching up the edges of the coloring. This video is just going to be a really quick time lapse of just painting in general. Mind you, painting, anybody can paint in this day and age. It's 2020, and if you really want to do work as an artist, painting is really not where it's at. Even for me, like, I don't really enjoy painting. I think it's really tedious, and I'd much rather be doing sketching and breaking down the forms and just working on finding out how the flow of just angles of limbs and direction and motion, all that kind of stuff is where I really enjoy practicing. And painting isn't all that fun for me. Like, I find it really easy, and sometimes just it's not something that really gets me too excited. I really enjoy drawing and changing the forms and figuring out how the lines flow and curves and convergent points, all that stuff is what really makes me, is what really brings art alive to me. Painting is fun, using bright and pretty colors, but anybody can do that in this day and age. And literally, that was like the first thing I learned when I got all these programs from Adobe Suite, and I thought I was such a good artist just by learning how to paint. But honestly, like, now that I can see it, like, anybody can paint. It takes practice, and good practice is what makes good art. You can't make good art if you're just drawing bad forms like we saw where I started. That wasn't where I started. I actually was drawing much better forms in the beginning, but without a solid foundation, my drawings deteriorated to the initial sketch which we saw of Betty Boop. So you don't want that to happen to you. You want to have a good foundation. You want to build a solid structure out of lines and how forms fit together in a 3D space. When you're drawing, you always got to think of the object as if it's a 3D space, sitting in 3D space, and not just drawing the lines on the page. Really think of the form and what angles and how it's turning in space. That's where it's at. So yeah, like this one was already basically mostly done. So now I'm just doing the signature and the word art for her name. There's a lot of thought and structure that goes into typography, and I did some of that as well. That's not really like, I don't really specialize in that, but I do have a solid background in typography and traditional calligraphy as well. So this probably took the longest time out of the whole drawing, because getting the lines just right, making the words flow together, and just making the proper form of lettering takes some time. But yeah, just kind of figuring out how the forms fit together, how lines look aesthetically. I have a background in calligraphy, so that's how that works, but just typography in general. And yeah, just using the original signature settings from the previous image I did for this 28-day challenge for draw one character a day for each letter of the alphabet. And like I said, this is just a practice run for me. This is basically just so that I can practice my skills in the information that I've learned over the last little while as I've started to doing figure sketches and starting to put a lot of this knowledge into practice. So it's just a way for me to integrate it, and any constructive criticism, of course, is appreciated. Anybody seeing this work that wants to give me any sort of feedback, I'd love to hear back from you. I probably will be hosting a challenge like this pretty soon, but I won't say anything yet, but as the details come out, I will keep everybody posted. And yeah, so like I thought I was done with this picture, but I realized that, I didn't even shade her dress, and that would be the most important and also the most fun, so that's what I'm doing here. We gotta have fun in art, because art is fun. It's all about having fun. It should never be about competition or trying to really force force a talent. We're just having fun here, and getting better is what it's all about. So practice with solid fundamentals, solid knowledge of the basics is what makes you better. And there you have it. Just a simple painting in Photoshop.